20%, whatever the rates are there. After that, whatever the balance is there, you have to compare with the total receipt. If you go to the composition, then you calculate total and that got accordingly what is your sales value. If it is less than 50%, the input credit available according to the rules. So 53.6. It is not 53.4. The question is the 53.6. We have restricted ourselves. Question has been asked regarding 53.6. Whether the total receipt of
53.4 is entirely a different proposition.
Because 53.6 says if the sale is less than 50% of the business entity, the set-off will not be available other than exception. Here is also same apply. Question will ask whether this will apply to the works contractor also. Yes, it will apply. This is my say. But this is the group. Group has discussed that way because the dealer is the normal dealer. There is no differentiation between the works contract receipt or there is a word of sale. It applies equally. Next, go to the 54G. Next, 54G denies admissibility of set-off purchases effected by the works contract when the contract results in immovable property other than plant and machinery. How can we define the result of the immovable property as mentioned in clause B? How we can constitute results immovable property? Question is nothing to do with 54G. Word is there. How can one define the term of results in immovable property? It's very simple. We have to look at the books of accounts. And audited books of accounts is not done by either you or me. It has to be done by somebody else, a technical person, who say this is a building. Capitalize under the head of the building. Or the plant and machinery capitalize under the head of the plant and machinery head. Or capitalize the other heads. When it is go to under the head of the building, then it is other than, because the point is other than plant and machinery. So firstly, is a very simple issue. Immovable property has been defined according to the given that various definitions. Immovable property. Plant and machinery, immovable property. There is a word for 54G other than plant and machinery. Intention is very clear. If you read the exercise, they also say same thing. They also not giving the set-off in bad credit on the buildings. Here is also intention is that they want to give the full set-off on plant and machinery. So as far as whatever the balance sheet shows, it's the killer for us. Because I know in the corporate world, they take the number of advice for the purpose of at the time of capitalization. If you see the cement and iron steel, whether it's a part of the building or the plant and machinery, it has to be looked very utilized. If it is utilized for the foundation, it's the part and parcel of the plant and machinery. When it go to the building, it has to be capitalized under the head of the building. Foundation has become the immovable property. But when used for the purpose of the foundation of the plant and machinery, is a plant and machinery. So that has to be looked to the balance sheet. You have to ask from them, from the management, how they classify. You will get the entire details. And how it is classified in the books of account, that classification jigita for us. fixing the tiles. ETC is given to Bhumi engineers whether the affiliated industry is eligible for set off of the said purchase. The question is simple, as I understood, as the group has understood. Purchase factory repair and renovation is not for the purpose of immovable property. When it is debited in the repairs and maintenance, under Rule 52, all the expenses debited in the profit and loss account are entitled to input credit. And accordingly, group has opined the entire purchases of these items entitled to input credit. 9.6 on page number 6 and 8. Another issue being is based on the assessment is whether the contractor undertaking the works contract will hit by 54G or 54H. According to me, as a writer, as a speaker, who has written this article, the works contractor is a dealer, and any purchase made by him for the contract that result into immovable property, erection of immovable property of the contractee will be eligible to set off, not hit by Rule 54G or 54H. The point is very simple. If you go to the 54H G, I have to go to the one line proviso. Purchase effected by the employer. Purchase effected by the employer by way of a works contract when the contract result is a movable property other than plant and machinery. Here we are talking about the contractor. Here is the employer definition. The works contractor will not hit by this provision. Again, if we go to the H, purchases of any goods of the dealer. In the dealer, the work contractor also, because he is also a registered dealer, and the employer also dealer. But here let's go. The property in which is not transferred. Contractor has to transfer. He is not transferred to any other person. Contractor has to transfer. Which are used in the erection of the immovable property other than plant and machinery. The both the proviso are not hitting to the contractor. He is entitled to input credit, not hitting to by that. Sir, I try to give the opinion whatever that created by the group. We try to explain to you on behalf of the group. I thanks to my group members and the mentors. They have assisted me to come to their eyes. All the conclusion. I have already put it as item number 10. I am not able to reply because the time you have already admitted. The time is short. And because we know always in all the conference the time is short. And that's why we are enjoying this conference in that way. Thanking you. Dhanyavad.
date?
Yes. Whether during due to page number 101. Irrespective of type of contract, service tax will not be part of sale price is liable to tax. तुमच्या ग्रुपमध्ये असं डिस्कशन झालेलं आहे. सर्व्हिस टॅक्स टॅक्सचा पार्ट नाही.
attention.
Yes, sir. Now my jury is over.
Thank you, sir.
सर मैं याच्याशिवाय माझी आणखी क्युरी आहे प्रिन्सिपलचा जर टॅक्स डिडक्ट झालेला असेल प्रिन्सिपल कॉन्ट्रॅक्टरचा तर
You are
तो
raising query?
यस
Oh. So, Manoj, you write
Yes.
it down and in the printers I will reply.
ओके सर थँक्यू
Yes, sir.
सर सेक्रेटरी मला एक सांगायचं या वर्षीमध्ये तुम्ही तिसऱ्या पिढीला जो चान्स दिलेला आहे त्याच्याबद्दल माझ्याकडून डिस्ट्रिक्ट असोसिएशनचं अभिनंदन तिसरी पिढी म्हणजे
So you consistently do it every year.
यस थँक्यू बड़े काय म्हणजे तिसरी पिढी आहे
दुसरी पेढी Respected seniors and all delegates, I present here my views on behalf of Group 2. The questions allotted to us are 5, 6 and 7. With all the efforts and support of all my members of Group 2, all the questions have been answered to. Taking up first question, question number 5.1. Page number 84. For answering 5.1, I will take up point number A, B, C, D together. There were two views formed in the opinion, formed in the group. First view was, since there is no transfer of property in the execution of works, sorry, let me read the question for the members. The employer has allotted a contract to the main contractor for 10 lakhs. He has fully subcontracted this work for 9 lakhs. The 1 lakh is the margin. Taking further to this question, whether what is the liability of the main contractor on the margin of 10%? Two views. First view, since there is no transfer of property from main contractor to the employer, there will be no tax liability which will be arising on the main contractor. Thus, this would apply to all ABCD.
So that's on one margin, no tax.
No tax.
Very good.
Second view formed is considering NCC SME
So what is
security.
the majority? Majority view is.
Majority is no tax.
That's fine.
The second view is
So second view is not. Bump it up. No, it's all right. Majority, you go by majority.
okay. Okay. One more point which was raised in the 4 questions was whether the deduction which is prescribed for the main contractor for the value of the subcontract, whether it will be 9 lakh of rupees or the in question number C 5 lakhs or in D 6 lakh 30,000. The group was of unanimous opinion that deduction should be 9 lakhs of rupees.
Yes.
The question number E. Since the employer has deducted TDS of 2% 20,000, whether such TDS certificate can be claimed by the subcontractor executing the contract or he cannot claim. Again, the group was of 2 views. First view is, yes, the subcontractor can claim the TDS deducted by the principal in respect of main contractor read with section 31.4 and 31.9. 31.4 says that any amount or any sum deducted in accordance with
supply, and hence the subcontractor can claim such TDS. However, there is a technical difficulty in this, since there is no way of transferring such TDS. Second view was, no, he cannot claim TDS directly. However, there is a practical way. Form 406 should be issued by the main contractor to the subcontractor, saying that 20,000 liability has been discharged, and such subcontractor should compute his tax liability and deduct 20,000 issued through Form 406 only, and pay off the balance tax. Additional 3 questions were raised by the chairman. Whether subcontract can issue Form 407 when he is opting for composition, the group was of unanimous opinion that he can issue Form 407. Whether the subcontractor can collect such composition money from the main contractor, yes, Section 42(3) does not bar from non-collection of tax, and hence he will raise an invoice and collect the composition money. Third question is whether such subcontract value should be claimed as deduction from GTO or claimed as ITC. Am I right? Again, 2 opinions. In the existence of a specific provision under Section 42(3) which states that deduction from GTO should be claimed for the subcontract value, it should be deducted and hence no set-off will be available. Second opinion, suppose since no Form 408 is involved in this whole transaction, it is only relates to Form 407. Second view was that it can be treated as purchase and it can be claimed as set-off. 54 GNH will not be applicable since he is a contractor. Going further with question, point number 5.2 on page 89. The basic query in this question comes from the technical difficulty arising while filing returns. It basically says that the template auto-calculates the liability and results in excess tax collection of 3 lakhs. So, legally speaking, since there is no excess tax collection, the return should be filed through method point number 3, method number 3 listed on page 90 by the speaker, so that we can avoid the technical difficulty. Going on point number 6.1. The point of 6.1, I will just summarize the question. The question basically states that ABC Limited has awarded a works contract to PQR Limited for 100 lakhs plus taxes. This single work order is divisible, and hence there will be no TDS liability at point number A. Since it is a divisible contract, the material and the service portion has been segregated, and hence material can be directly identified and it will be considered as sale. Second point comes, would it make any difference if the same contract, separate orders are issued for supply of materials and application of labor job? Again, the same view as in point A, no TDS should be deducted. Going further, question number 6.2. 6.2 poses a question that whether refund due in MVAT return filed by a dealer can be adjusted against the TDS payable by such dealer as an employer. The group was of the firm opinion that TDS is an obligation and has to be paid. It cannot be adjusted against the refund. Going to 6.3. Whether late fees under Section 26 are applicable to late filing of TDS returns. As per Section